Hello everybody and welcome back to Odin's Movie Blog. I am the critic who is a cynic. Hope you're doing well. Today we're talking about NPCs because NPC is still being talked about in the news, and oh man, I love just how the media is just taking this and running with it and just showing not only how ridiculous they are, but also just how biased they are as well. So if anyone doesn't know yet, NPC means non-player character, and it's a term that's now being used by several people from multiple different backgrounds all across the internet to describe people who usually fit an SJW mindset, and there are people that you could say anything to, have any kind of discussion about a variety of different things, and yet be called a racist, be called a sexist, or any other predetermined thought process that isn't actually a thought process. Basically, it's people who just say things and they don't actually understand what they say. They don't actually understand what the things that they say actually mean, because if they did, they would realize, oh, wait a minute, I can't call this person a Nazi because this person is not for the extermination of an entire race of people. Oh, but that would require me to think, oh, wait, I can't call this person a racist because he's not actually hateful towards any particular race, but I'm just going to call him a racist anyway because, hey, that's what's cool, right? Or I'm not. Actually, I can't really call this person a sexist because he doesn't hate or judge someone just because of their gender. But hey, I'll call him a sexist anyway because that's just what we do, right? So that's the reason why people are calling NPCs now, because it's essentially the same thing as SJW. Again, when we go back to that word, social justice warrior, there's nothing wrong inherently with social justice. It's a good thing to try and fight for rights, to be able to fight for things that are good. It's another thing, though, to take things so far that words that you say and expressions that you use lose any and all meaning whatsoever. It's one thing to try and say, oh no, I want to turn society on its head because it's progressive and it's progress to me, even though I'm completely full of myself and I have no idea what I'm talking about. I mean, that's what we're talking about here with NPCs. And so, of course, we have here the New York Times. Oh man, only puts what's fit to print. Isn't that what the old adage was? Like, oh, the New York Times was supposed to be the pinnacle of all that is truth and all that is good, even though it's just a total rag and just has lost any and all meaning whatsoever. It's like, oh no, but you can't just talk about it that way. When you look at the editorials, it's like, yeah, but the editorial page tells you a lot about the people actually running the paper. But here it is. What is NPC? The pro-Trump internet's new favorite insult. Really, I know a lot of people out there, many people who follow this channel, many people who follow me on Twitter, who are not pro-Trump people. People who did not vote for Trump, people who are not big fans of Trump, who use this because it's just accurate. Just like SJW accurately describes the people that we're talking about, NPC is also an accurate descriptor as well. These are people literally you could say anything to. You can choose, if you're the playable character, and you choose any word to say, if you choose any predetermined outcome, you know exactly what you're getting because everything that they respond with is predetermined. Literally, all they can say is, well, that's racist, that's sexist, that's homophobic, etc. That's all that these nutcases and just crazy people can say. That's all that they can do. So, I'm sorry, but no, it has nothing to do with people being pro-Trump. Oh, this is the new pro-Trump stuff. Oh my goodness, this is alt-right. This is an alt-right conspiracy theorist. Twitter has barred hundreds of right-wing accounts for posing as soulless, non-playable liberal activists. Yes, Twitter has barred hundreds, actually it's more of thousands, of right-wing accounts. Most of these people, you could say, probably have some kind of conservative tinge to them. I don't really like how they're using right-wing as it being this evil thing. I mean, these are some people who would say, oh, there's nothing wrong with being left-wing, but right-wing, oh, you're a Nazi, you're a racist, you're a sexist. It's just interesting how they love to use words and language in that way. It means something, it means bad when we're talking about right. But if you're on the left wing, oh, that's fine. If you're an NPC, if you're an SJW NPC, that's totally fine. And some of these are pretty great. Look, NPC Bane, that's hilarious. Actual human, NPC Hendrickson. Like, these are phenomenal. National Progressive Coalition for Life. Like, these are amazing things. These are absolutely amazing. Oh, but we're Twitter. We have to get rid of all these things. But oh, if you're a terrorist organization, oh, that's okay. The terrorist organization, the terrorists can stay. Oh, if you say nice things about terrorists, oh, that's totally fine. That's totally fine. We can just keep all of you on here. Farrakhan, we can keep you on here. You can have a voice. You've called for the extermination of an entire race of people, but that's okay. That is okay. You hate the Jews. Oh, but that's fine. It's fine. You're protected from free speech on Twitter. But all these goofy bots, oh, they have to go. See, this is the hypocrisy that we're dealing with today. If you are conservative, even if you're independent, if you're a moderate in the middle, there is now no place for you on so many social media platforms, because you are immediately, if you are a part of this, or if you say anything that goes against the narrative, if you say anything that goes against what's supposed to be true in the minds of these people, you're immediately labeled a hateful person. You're immediately labeled a bigot. And it's just it's so dangerous to push these words around, because it just doesn't, when you do this, and I doubt you're watching this, but if you're an NPC out there, please listen and pay attention. By you going out there and pushing this speech away, by you going out there and labeling everyone, like you talk about labels, let's talk about how you label every person that has a conservative, right-leaning, or even moderate persona as a hateful person, as a bigot, as a racist, as a sexist, as homophobic, just because I may not support certain programs that you support. That's not how this works. You are taking real terms. You are taking terms that have actual meaning, and you are essentially wiping them away. They're losing any and all meaning because of knuckleheads like you doing this. And I don't think you really understand what you're doing. Society's going down the hill. Society's just going down the drain, and it has a lot to do with what you are doing. It has a lot to do with what you are pushing out there. And yet, no, you can keep on saying, oh, it's pro-Trump people, or like this one. What are NPCs? The popular new far-right meme. Oh, because it has to be far-right. It has to be people on pro-Trump. It has to be these fringe people. When did someone supporting the President of the United States become fringe? I mean, again, this is coming from someone who didn't even vote for the guy. But how does that become a fringe thing? How does that become a far-right thing? The problem is that when we talk about language, and I've said this several times before in several other videos, when we talk about language is important. And I feel like unless you are going to accurately describe somebody, you shouldn't use certain words. NPC, SJW, these are very good descriptors because they literally match what's being said. Far right, pro-Trump, these aren't. These are not true descriptors at all. Again, talk to my people in the comments. Talk to my people on Twitter. Many of them did not and will not ever vote for someone like Donald Trump. Many of them do not consider themselves to be right-leaning in any way, disagree with me politically and socially and morally on a countless number of things. But guess what? We still have a conversation. You want to know why? Because we aren't NPCs. We aren't SJWs. We are not far leftists. And I hate to put it that way, but that's the group that's speaking out about this. We aren't far leftists who are just so against and will attack any type of diversity of thought. That's just not who we are. We engage in conversation. We love having conversation. We think that conversation is good. We're not just going to say, oh, you're racist. Oh, you're a sexist. Oh, you're the worst thing imaginable. Even though you're probably not any of these things that we're saying, we just have no argument because we like to say it in our safe space and avoid any and all contact with the outside world. We just want to avoid any new ideas because we're afraid that just maybe there's something out there. There's another position. There's another point of view out there that might actually make sense. It's out of fear that these people do this. It is out of absolute fear. And so you see, as big of a site as the New York Times or a smaller site like the Daily Dot, using these words, trying to paint anyone that uses the NPC meme as far right, pro-Trump. And my people watching this video will know it's not the case. Just because there are pro-Trump people or far-right people that use the NPC meme doesn't mean, oh, we can paint this, all of them, every single one of them. Doesn't work that way. But for the ones reacting, saying racist, sexist, NPC fits you very well. SJW fits you very well because you are essentially a non-autonomous being where you just cannot sufficiently just function on your own. You have to be fed by this nonsense. All you can do is say racist, sexist. Hey, I want to cross the street. Oh, well, that's a part of the patriarchy. And that is a big problem. If you cannot understand a diversity of thought, if you cannot engage with discussion, there's no point of even having the view that you're having. It just doesn't make any sense. And one last thing, because this is obviously going to be the title of the video, but it is still important, and this is where we get into the conversation with the Mary Sue. Jamie Lee Curtis celebrates Halloween becoming the biggest horror movie opening with a female lead scream queen, Charlene Zhao. Her being a woman has nothing to do with why this movie is doing well. Has nothing to do with it. I saw the movie, and she's a badass. She's great. You want to know why? because she's an established and a developed character. Guess what else could have been good? If that was a male character that was a hashed out and well-developed character, would have been just as good. Would have been just as good. Because the gender of a person, the gender of a character, does not determine whether the character is good or not. You, Mary Sue, and other NPCs that focus on these things, trying to say, oh, it's all about the women. Oh, the future is female. You're overplaying your hand. What you're doing is you're actually making more people want to push away from what you're putting out there. And it has nothing to do with the fact that it has nothing to do with them being sexist, even though that's what you will say, because you're an NPC, and that's all you can say. Oh, sexist, that's sexist. Oh, you don't want a woman to succeed, that's sexist. It's like, no, it's just that we want good stories, and we don't care. Most people, most normal people out there, because guess what? Most of the people in this world are normal, thank God. We don't care about gender. We don't care about race, because those things in and of themselves do not define you as a person. There are so many factors. There are so many things that define an individual beyond just race and gender. But if you limit yourself, if you isolate yourself to just your gender, oh, I only identify as a woman, or just as your race, I only identify as a person of color. What you do is you isolate yourself from the rest of the world, and that is what creates tension. And that is what creates the division that we currently have in this country and around the world. When you isolate yourself by self-identifying in these limited terms, that's what you're doing. And so when you talk about Halloween and you limit the scope of the film to just, oh, it did well it did very well for a female-led film. You're taking away the fact that, no, this is good for any film, starring any actor whatsoever. The fact that she's a woman doesn't matter. The fact is that she's a great character that's been developed in this film. Her character arc makes a hell of a lot more sense than it did for Luke Skywalker, or Jake Skywalker, he's probably more properly known as, whose character arc made no sense whatsoever. This is a woman that underwent severe trauma. We saw the trauma in the first film, and guess what? It affected her over a 30, 40-year period. And so it all makes sense. It makes sense that she's a strong female, because she's a strong person. Being a female has nothing to do with it. The fact is that she's a strong person because of the trauma that she went through. Being a female is secondary. And that is what the biggest problem is with the Mary Sue, with the NPC culture, all of it, is that they want to break you down by group. They want you to isolate yourselves, because guess what? That is how they succeed. They succeed. They make money. They profit off of you isolating yourself from those around you, because that is how they get you. When you feel so alone and isolated, saying, oh, I can only identify as a female, I can only identify as a person of color, then they succeeded. You let them win when you do that. When you allow them to define you, instead of you defining yourself by everything that there is about you, not just one quality. You allow them to win, and you allow them to use you, because that's all they care about. These SJWs, these NPCs, especially these people, these higher-ups, these so-called cultural leaders, these politicians, they don't care about you. All they want is your vote. All they want is for you to give them power. All they want is to be taken care of. All they want is to not have to do anything, to provide no critical thought, nothing new to the discussion, because they have nothing to add. And for a lot of these people, it's really sad, because a lot of them do have potential. A lot of them do have the capacity to bring in new thoughts, to bring in new ideas, but they limit themselves because of NPCs. But anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. Please let me know what your thoughts are about this whole NPC thing. Again, the fact that you have the New York Times, oh my goodness, the purveyor of all that is true, saying that, oh, it's something that's famous among, pro-Trump people, and, oh, it's far-right new meme. No. It's a meme that got popular among a lot of people of a lot of different backgrounds. It has nothing to do with people being far-right. It has nothing to do with people being pro-Trump. It has everything to do with the fact that there are crazy people, NPCs, who are so ridiculous that they're caricatures, and that's the reason why you got the meme of NPC. But guys, I would love to hear your thoughts on all of this down in the comments below. Please leave a comment. I really do read as many comments as I can, especially within the first 15 minutes of all my videos going live. I really do appreciate all of you guys' support. This has been absolutely amazing. And also, guys, let me know, what were your thoughts on Halloween? I think Halloween was great. I didn't think that this film, and I'm glad that it didn't, say, oh my gosh, she's a woman, she's a woman, she's a woman. It just said, this is a character who went through a trauma, and guess what? She trained to be a badass, and so therefore, you believe that she's a badass. Just like you would believe any person, regardless of their race or their gender, would be a badass if they went through the kind of trauma that they did and did the kind of training that she did. let's talk about that. Let's keep ourselves grounded in reality of what actually happened. But guys, I would love to hear your thoughts. If you like this video, hit that thumbs up, hit that subscribe. It really does help you out a lot. You are all amazing, amazing, amazing people. Love you guys so much. Have a great day. And as always, God bless.